Vamos! Barcelona beat Victoria Plzen 5-1 in the Champions League to start off a brilliant campaign, hopefully for Football Club Barcelona. We lined up in a 4-3-3 with Ter Stegen, partnered with Alba, Christensen, Koundé and Roberto as his back four, Kessie, De Jong and Pedri as the midfield, and Ansu Fati, Lewandowski and Dem-Pele as the attack. We absolutely dominated this Victoria Plzen side today with 77% possession to their 23, 20 shots to their 8, and 5 fouls to their 8 as well. We scored in the 13th minute, 34th minute, 45th minute, 67th minute, and the 71st minute, all with scores such as Kessie, Ferran Torres, and Lewandowski. In terms of our other stats for today, we had 10 corners to their 1. We passed them almost triple, and we had a much better pass accuracy as well. This of course puts us in a very short amount of time first in the group, because we of course have scored the highest amount of goals and conceded the least out of everyone, so we have the best goal difference. And Lewandowski importantly scored his first hat-trick for Football Club Barcelona. It is just 1.5 months into his time at the club, and he's already scored his first hat-trick. So let's just hope that this is many more to come, because this guy is absolutely electric, and I'll talk more about him in the match reaction, and that will be coming up with the match ratings. But this guy is just some other level, and we saw it once again today. Of course, we did win our last game 3-0 against Sevilla, and so we've continued our form in this game as well. And talking about continuing form, we have 3 very important games coming up for Barcelona as well. We have a Cadiz game, which will see us really get challenged against a team that will also send a pretty low block. Then we have the biggest one of all so far in the season, which is the Bayern game, which we'll really have to go all guns blazing for that game. And then we have Elche, who are going to be a similar opponent to Cadiz, also with a lot of weapons on their side as well. In terms of our substitutions today, Kessie was a starter and he was subbed off for Pablo Torre, who had a pretty short cameo. And then we had Dem-Pele, who was subbed off for Memphis Depay. Once again, did a superb flick over a Plzen player, but really had no other impact on the match. Same thing in relation to the Pedri and Xavi substitution, as Xavi came in and wasn't able to do too much. Except for the Ansu Fati and Ferran Torres substitution, Ferran Torres in 5 minutes was able to get an assist and a goal, so huge impact from him. And lastly, Roberto was subbed off for Piqué, and Piqué was just composed as ever in the center of that defense. In terms of our player ratings for today, I think Ter Stegen deserves a 6. Although he really didn't make any mistakes, he also had nothing to do, and we conceded a goal, so it wasn't a perfect performance, so Ter Stegen deserves a 6. In terms of our back four, let's start off with Jordi Alba. Jordi Alba just looks disinterested, and I think this is becoming a common problem with him. I think he's just a player that has lost the mindset, or needs to recover the mindset of a top player, because I'm just not seeing it. He just seems to be just not interested in the way Barcelona are playing. And Balde, who's very young, is hungry, and I just don't think Alba has that hunger anymore. And if we actually analyze in several of the talks and interviews that he's done in the past, his value for actually playing for Barcelona and that winning mentality just isn't there. In a few of his interviews, he said that with beating Real Madrid is like winning a UCL. In another interview, he said that Barcelona fans have been spoiled just based on all the success that they've had over the past few years. So I just don't think he's in the right mentality. And if he can't recover that, I just don't see him even competing with the position with Balde and Alonso. In terms of our back four, Koundé was superb once again. Obviously amazing in defense, but he was also able to get an assist today. Christensen, I think, had a slow start where it looked like, he was a little bit in a mess. Of course, in the first half, he almost conceded a penalty, but it was actually shown to be the fact that the Plzen player actually pushed him. But overall, pretty composed performance from him. I think the real surprise was Roberto, who once again is continuing with his excellence. He got an assist in the first half as well. Really good performance. Of course, did have a tiny niggle and was subbed off in the second half, but still pretty good from Roberto in that sense. Midfield of De Jong, Kessie, and Pedri all performed pretty well. I think De Jong was pretty composed. I still think he holds on to the ball way too much, which is a little bit concerning, but De Jong did play well today in that DM position. Kessie was superb. I think he makes a lot of superb runs into the box, and he's really becoming like that second man along with Lewandowski. Superb runs, especially from crosses, and he's looking like a huge weapon for this Barcelona side. Pedri, as ever, calming everything down. Superb performance from him. And when it comes to our front three, Ansu Fati, Lewandowski, and Dem-Pele all pretty much put on a good performance. I would say the only exception was Ansu Fati because I just didn't feel he was really good in front of goal. He did a few good runs, which I thought that's a little bit promising, but considering this is the first game he started in a reported 305 days for Barcelona, it just shows. And I think that this will be a game that are a lot of positives because he made a lot of really good runs, but there's still a lot to improve on. I think if we're talking about a perfect performance, it has to go to Lewandowski, who was just, as I said, perfect today. Superb performance from him, a hat-trick, just one hell of a player, technically a beast. Honestly, he was able to dictate the tempo of the game. I mean, I thought I'd never say that as a center forward, but he was able to drop into like almost advanced playmaker kind of positions and gave a few really good passes to Fati, Dem-Pele, and Jordi Alba. So he's all I could have asked for in a center forward. Much better than Aubameyang. As good as Aubameyang was, he just has way more to his game. And when it comes to Dem-Pele on the right hand side, also really superb today. Just made a lot of really, really good dribbles on that right hand side, and just an amazing player. I think continuing with the Lewandowski performance, he does get the match ball today, and that is something that he'll be looking forward to, and that is his motivation for the next game. I mean, we're talking about Jordi Alba and how he could be putting much better performances, and the fact that he's lost his hunger. This guy just never seems to lose his hunger. He's already won a Champions League. He's won just about everything you could in club football with, of course, Bayern Munich, and he still has the hunger to prove himself in this league with this young Barcelona team. That is just amazing. I think one other thing that we have to note for today is that Xavi was able to get his first Champions League win under his belt. The first game in which Barcelona scored 5 goals under his tenure as Barcelona manager. And as I always say, first of many is what we should be hoping as Barcelona fans. I think continuing with how our performance was today, FootMob, of course, said that we had an XG of 3.04 today to their 0.87. In the last game, we had an XG that was up to 4 goals, and today we have 3 goals. So once again, outperforming our XG, in addition to having a really high XG as well. And another thing that I found really important that we have to note from social media that I found as a stat is the fact that Lewandowski and Dem-Pele had the most half-space passes against Victoria Plzen, 18 and 17 respectively. This just shows that one of the main things that Aubameyang lacked in his time with Barcelona, he was a great goal scorer and definitely a great when it comes to a free transfer, but he didn't lack that awareness, tactical awareness that Lewandowski has. Lewandowski knows how to drop into the positions required to really assist our forward men. He knows exactly when to play the correct pass. He knows exactly when to shoot, and he's clinical. And it seems like both Dem-Pele and Lewandowski have perfectly understood the Barcelona philosophy, which is huge. And Barca Worldwide have also said that Bayern Munich will be the real test for this team, and it's much more enjoyable than any Barca version post-2015 era. This is crucial, because I think since the Enrique era, this has been the best football that we've played. I think against in Valverde's tenure, we had points where that was really good football, and that's something that we would say. But consistently, since Xavi has taken over, most of our results have been quite good. And most importantly, our performances have been much more consistent as well. Overall, amazing game from Barcelona. I think there's a lot of positives to take from today's performance. We, of course, have a very difficult game against Cadiz next, and then 2 more against Bayern and Elche. But today, we needed to get a win under our belt. Xavi made a lot of rotations, and they all ended up being good for this team. It's a huge win, and as always, Visca el Barça.